From Amateur Radio Newsline Report, number 2293, this is Ham Nation Headlines for Wednesday, October 13th, 2021. We begin with a report of a development that spells good news for de-expeditioners and chasers. At long last, a new call sign prefix has evolved out of a long-simmering issue over licensed operations in the former Falkland Island dependencies.
Ofcom, the communications regulator in the UK, has agreed to the use of a new prefix for the former Falkland Island dependencies, which had been mistakenly omitted from the Falkland Island Communications Ordinance in 2017. The prefix Victor Papa 0, VP0, has been assigned to these territories, and the Falkland Islands Communications Regulator, which was part of the discussions with Ofcom, is to administer these licenses on behalf of the governments of the British Antarctic Territory and South Georgia and South Sandwich Islands. The prefix will also apply to the British sector of the Antarctic mainland, including the Antarctic Peninsula and nearby islands, as well as the South Orkney and South Shetland Islands. This brings welcome news to de-expeditioners and others who have been unable to use VP8 licenses in these former dependencies for years. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Jim Meechan, ZL2BHF.
Few things are outside the realm of possibility with amateur radio, as a group of deaf students in the UK is about to learn in an ARIS QSO with an American astronaut.
American astronaut Mark Vander Hey, KG5GNP, is scheduled to complete a unique amateur radio contact from the ISS with students at Mary Hare School for Deaf Children in Berkshire, England. Kieran Morgan, M0XTD, the UK's ARIS operations lead, told Newsline that the event will proceed like a standard ARIS contact for the astronaut, but students and school volunteers will have access to a stenographer using a device that projects what is being said onto a large screen in their auditorium. Kieran added that the text will also appear on a live web stream, which will also feature a sign language interpreter. Meanwhile, hams from the Newbury District Amateur Radio Society have been assisting the students by providing lessons on amateur radio. The school noted on its blog, quote, "These will be the first deaf children to have done this, making it a world first," unquote. While some of the students will be linked to the action by a web feed, others will be in the auditorium itself as socially distanced spectators. It's scheduled to take place sometime during the week of October the 10th. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Jeremy Boot, G4NJH.
In the UK, it's almost back to business as usual for amateur radio exams, but there are a few changes in the works. Once again, here's Jeremy Boot, G4NJH.
Face-to-face amateur radio exams are making a comeback now that pandemic restrictions are easing after 18 months. Exams via remote invigilation and training by distance learning sessions are giving way to in-person club meetings and training for those who choose it. The Radio Society of Great Britain has announced that starting on the 1st of November, clubs will be able to use a new online booking system for candidates' paper-based exams. The same booking system is already in use for online exams as at the 6th of October. There are plans, however, to phase out the paper exams eventually. Meanwhile, candidates planning to take the foundation exams going forward will no longer be required to complete a practical test, according to the RSGB Examination Standards Committee. The tests had in any case been suspended during the 18-month pandemic restriction period, but clubs are still encouraged to include a practical component in their candidate training. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Jeremy Boot, G4NJH.
And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news for 4 decades and counting at arnewsline.org. With Jim Meechan, ZL2BHF, Jeremy Boot, G4NJH, Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT at the news desk in New York, and our news team across the globe. I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW 73. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation.